today we have with us for Mental Health Month, we have Miss Aihomon Ebojie with us today. She's a social worker. She's also the NAACP Minneapolis secretary, and she's running for the first Miss Juneteenth pageant. She's running in the first Miss Juneteenth pageant. How are you today?
I'm doing well and I'm delighted to be here.
Okay, good, good. Let's jump right into the mental health discussion. Where as a social worker, you're seeing, I think we were talking, you're seeing a lot of cases where people are affected by mental health. Give me some examples of what you've seen and the type of illnesses like schizophrenia or ADHD or whatever. What have you seen already?
So, with my experience, I have worked with individuals that have schizophrenia, Tourette's, multiple personality disorder, bipolar, depression, various disorders. I'm thinking even physical disorders like cerebral palsy, um, quadriplegics, various individuals.
Okay, okay. As far as the mental health, how early have you seen it manifested in our people, some of our people that you work with?
Depending on if it's a physical disability, I've seen it as early as childbirth. And usually, mental disabilities, you see it in their early adult years between the ages of 19 and 24, which is the onset period.
Okay, okay. So you've seen it when it's already taken hold. Is there better ways that we can identify mental health in our families that that might be helpful to our community?
So, mental health can come in ways of genetics and it also can come in ways of lifestyle. So, for example, if you were raised in a domestic abusive um, parenthood, right? Your parents experience that you might experience trauma, you might experience stress to different environments of like, where they're loud, where there's no control or no type of structure, and that can manifest in life in your lifestyle as well, as in, um, are you consistent? Are you a consistent person? Um,
From what I've seen is some people who are challenged with mental health issues, they don't open up well. And so, and if they're keeping quiet about what's truly bothering them, how can we help them? I mean, it seems like that's a real uphill battle because we don't, if you can't identify, it's hard to identify it if you can't get the person to talk to you about it. And I think I've seen a few of that where people just don't talk about what happened. I knew a person who attempted suicide, and that happened when he was 14 years old, and so now he's in his 30s. But to this day, his family said that he still haven't talked about why he did it, and so that's a difficult road to go down because you can't really help people unless they'll let you help them. And so I think that we run into a lot of that in our community as well. So is it mostly just the young folks or older African Americans as well that you've seen that have the mental health illnesses?
I would say that I have seen it in the between the ages of 19 and 24. And, mental illness is tough for the individual and their family. Um, to the right to seek service is up to the individual. And if they're not ready to open up, then they don't have to. So that's the tough part about it. You can give the individual all the support needs they want. But again, if they're willing to stop services whenever they want to, they can do so. Also, um, research says that between the ages of 19 and 24, African Americans have high rates of mental illness but seek services less than their white counterparts. Um, mental health illness is a stigma in the African American community. People don't want to seek help. People don't want people in their business, and they don't want to seem like they're crazy. But almost everybody is dealing with mental illness, whether it's stress, depression, anxiety, and we are able to heal ourselves if we get the help that we need. I am just trying to bring awareness to affordable mental health services and in the African American community because it is very much so needed.
So when you say affordable, um, is that to say that generally we don't have access to psychiatric care or things of that nature? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Individuals, such as if you don't have your ID to sign up for insurance, you can't get insurance. And secondly, you have to be approved for insurance. What I'm trying to do is what I'm trying to do is have other practitioners being willing to do free services because, again, if you lack insurance, you most likely can't pay out of pocket for mental health services.
Okay. Folks, a little background on the program you work for or the agency you work for. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So I work for the Doorstep Legacy Foundation. It is an organization that works with different partners to elevate the children that they're helping. So, for instance, I know the men mentors, they have worked in schools and they do boys group. I do girls group at Friendship Academy over South. It is grades 3 through 8th, and I do things such as confidence building, communication skills, emotional intelligence, and then we talk about issues that they deal with, which is, it might be an absent father or domestic abuse with their parents and them having to be removed from the home and being placed back in the home. And then I also mentor at Dakota County Jail in Hastings. And with the girls there, I'm able to do like a proper exit strategy so they can have the proper resources that they need when they enter back in the community. And we focus a lot on positive communication and emotional intelligence because a lot of the girls that are there for fighting, and some of those situations could have been handled properly with proper communication.
Oh, okay, okay. Now that's the doorstep. That's the Debonis Foundation, right? The one that
Correct.
you founded. Okay. All right. So tell us just a little bit about Miss Juneteenth. All right. What's going down with the Miss Juneteenth pageant? And so you're running. This is the first. Now we've heard talk about a pageant for Juneteenth for years here in the Twin Cities. So this is the very first one.
This is the very first pageant. In the past, they have had interview sessions with the girls, but this is the very first pageant. It will be held at Hamline University, June 8th from 2 to 4 p.m.
Okay. 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 I'm right over there. So, how can folks support you in the Juneteenth pageant?
So folks can support me in the Miss Juneteenth pageant by sponsoring me or by coming to the pageant to show up and to support other girls that are running in the pageant. So my platform for the pageant, I'm aiming to highlight the importance of mental health awareness, educate on the impact of generational trauma and the power of healing within our African American communities. And I know the other girls, one girl I know her platform is focused on education. She's a teacher, and another girl's platform focuses on climate control.
Talk about generational trauma. How is that manifested? We kind of know what it is, but in the mental health capacity, how do you see that? I mean, was it self-esteem or is it, how do you see it manifested when you deal with people that might be going through that trauma?
So, generational trauma is trauma that extends from generation to the next, and it begins when a group experiences a traumatic event that causes economic, cultural, and familiar distress. In response, people belonging to that group develop physical or psychological symptoms. So generational trauma occurs through biological, environmental, and psychological and social means. For example, some evidence suggests that generational trauma can happen in the uterus. For example, a fetus being exposed to chemicals involved in maternal stress that impacts the future development. So, the effects of generational trauma can include anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, generations of families that have endured years of abuse, neglect, assault, or other forms of trauma that they may find it hard to escape.
Okay, the programs that you work in right now, do you mostly deal with folks from North Minneapolis, South Minneapolis, or all over?
So, as the secretary for the Minneapolis NAACP, we deal with all of Hennepin County. And yes, mostly North Minneapolis. That's where our office is located, 1101 West Broadway Avenue in the back of Sammy's Eatery. And we
Okay.
have things such as healing circles the first Thursday of every month, where individuals from the community are able to come talk about their grievances or harm or any topic they really want to talk about. And we have other practices such as restorative justice trainings. We do that at Turning Point, right over there by West Broadway. And we focus on like accountability, anger management, and different ways to engage with your client that you're focusing on.
These sessions or classes, are they free to the public? Or?
Yes, so all of the Minneapolis NAACP events are free. All of them are free. And we host various events in the month. Like we have partnered with Neon, and they were doing some um, business funding for first-time business owners, for Black business owners. And you did not need to be like in your first year of business, anything like that. We have first-time home buyer programs as well. We partner with Wells Fargo, and they come over and talk about helping individuals get their first house and different funding resources that they have for free, and individuals do not need to pay back.
Are there, in your mental health capacity, are there any notable programs that you know of that might be able to assist seniors who might be experiencing mental health issues? Because we're seeing a lot of that as well, and we don't really know, is there really viable avenues for them to seek help? Because you see it every day. They're walking the streets and they're not taking care of themselves and so forth, and so something's wrong. But what agencies do we have out there to go to these people, to pay attention to these people, and so to let these folks know they still matter? We have a lot of vets out here who are mentally ill, and all they can do is, drugs. They medicate our people a lot. But are there any alternate plans to reach out for these folks in a different way, other than just drugs? I mean, do you know any other avenues for mental health treatments? Where would you suggest folks go in our community if they have, say, a 19-year-old kid, all of a sudden in your family starting to experience mental health problems? Where do you suggest they go?
That is a tough questions because there's a lot of nonprofits opening and closing. For instance, I think I would contact the Twin Cities Recovery Program just for the fact that they have partnerships with a lot of homeless homelessness organizations. I do know that a lot of homeless organizations closed during COVID as well. So that is an issue that we are tackling. But um, I'm thinking of Aruba's place. So Aruba's mental health. That is a place that I know that they're able to seek like one-on-one services. Um, there's another one I'm thinking of on the top of my head. Cannot think of the name. But another one that deals with, I would say, mental health services is Village Arms. I'm sorry, Village Arms. It's in South Minneapolis, and it is run by Khalees Houston. She's actually our child protection chair for the
Yeah, we
Minneapolis
had this.
NAACP. So, Village Arms, I would say, Aruba's mental health. Um, and those are the two that I can think of on the top of my head right now.
Okay,
And
okay.
those are Black owned as well. So those are the two that I mentioned. There are definitely a lot of different organizations. I can name NAMI. I can name, um, I'm going to stop there.
Okay, okay. Now, have you being of Nigerian descent, so have you found that these problems are the same, the mental health problems are the same across the board, regardless of culture, whether African American or Native African, or have you found Is mental health issues the same in across all communities that you found?
I would say so, but I would say in like more African cultures, or say I'm half Haitian as well. Haitian cultures or third world countries, mental health is not seen. They don't believe in mental health, and people don't seek the services that they need. And but I would also say that they don't even have the services. They don't have the infrastructure and the systems to really help with mental health how we are being helped in the U.S. But in the US, African American rates again are higher in mental health illness, but they seek services lower than any other ethnicity.
Okay, so we've been sicker longer, but we're refusing to seek the help that's out there. And that could be a stigma in our community as
It
well.
definitely is a stigma.
Yeah, so, all right, so you have the mic. Say what you want to say about mental health that I haven't talked about.
That you have not talked
That I
about.
haven't touched on. What is it that you want to mention about mental health that we seem to be overlooking? That the public seems to overlook all the time. Like you say, a lot of folks just don't reach out to our communities. A lot of it is it the awareness component of it? Is that people are not making these programs aware, making us aware of the programs, or I mean, what's missing? What's missing in our mental health treatment out here?
I think awareness is definitely missing. I feel like every other day I find out about a new organizations that's doing the work that we're doing, and it's like I wish we knew about that so we can partner with you guys instead of us trying to develop the wheel on our own. So every day I'm finding out new organizations, but my message to the community is we have the power to heal ourselves if we have the right services. So the different services to help with the power of healing within the African American community is, of course, the Minneapolis NAACP. I mentioned that already, but there are other organizations, as in Village Arms. I briefly touched on that. Khalees Houston is working. We just passed the African American Family Preservation Act, which is asking the Minnesota Child Protection Child Protection Services when they are removing African American kids outside of their homes, we are asking that they keep them, they move them with their next family of kin or their custodial parent. So that just got passed. We have a lot of cases constantly being called about child protection services and parents feeling like their rights have been violated. And the stories that you hear are crazy. The stories you hear, you wouldn't believe.
We just
Another
did an article last week on the same thing that you're talking about. How child protection is breaking up families. They're,
Yes.
they're shattering black families.
Yes, and Minnesota actually has one of the highest rates out of all the states for removing African American children from their parents. So that was just really even shocking as a new leader, emerging leader. It's shocking to hear about all these systems really letting people down, and that is why I wanted to do macro social work, working with systems.
Okay.
Um, Another healing organization is with Jane Barris. She does optimism. A training on optimism. It is creating a new universe of possibility from inside out. And she does this training at schools. She did it with North High School and um, I think it was Egan or Eden Prairie. She did the training with. Um, and then the Doorstep Legacy Foundation. So this organization is in many elementary schools, and it is again to elevate the young boys and young girls to be the best that they can be. With the boys, I know that their reading rate has been dropping in the African American community, and it starts in fifth grade. So I know the Doorstep Legacy Foundation helps with reading, as well as other educational efforts. Um, and then would you like me to talk about community things we're doing?
Are you um, a proponent of how schools like to medicate our children? They like to, when we're hyperactive, first thing they want to do is classify our kids as maybe a mental case or special ed or something like that. But they're just hyperactive and they want to medicate them. How do you feel about that process as opposed to having elders in the schools that can calm our children down, talk to our children. I think Cultural Wellness had a program called the Elders Program when they Navigators Program when they go into the schools and they would, you know, step in when our kids get unruly and so forth and calm them down. And so, would you like to see more of that type of activity as opposed to just medicating our children and so forth? I mean, how do you feel about that as a behavioral specialist and so forth?
So, for one, I would like to say IEPs are the pipeline to prison. A lot of schools want to put children, especially African American children, on IEPs, and that is just for them to get additional funding. They usually don't get the resources, they don't use the money for the resources that they need for that child when they do put the child on an IEP. I definitely believe in different various meditation and relaxation methods that can help the child, different breathing techniques. Maybe the child is hyperstimulated for things that are going on in their home, and then they don't know how to self regulate when they get to school. All these relaxation methods are taught, and if you don't know, you won't know how to do it right. Um, so that is definitely my take on the education system. They're not finding the right resources. Even when, like I said, when they do get the child on the IP, they're not finding the right resources. If they did, they would find that relaxation methods, bringing in different calming techniques, would help the child. And I speak for myself. I remember a time where I would say in first, second grade, they tried to pressure my father to get me checked. I got three diagnostic tests from the doctor, and they said nothing is wrong with me, and they were saying at the time I had ADHD. I couldn't pay attention when until I needed to be challenged. In high school, I took challenging classes, AP classes. I was in I forgot what it was called, but it's when you take college classes when you take college classes when you're in high school. So I've
Prep,
done that as
preparatory
well.
classes.
And it's like nothing is wrong with me. I needed to be challenged and I was bored in the class. Sometimes things happen at home and I didn't know how to now turn that off and be able to regulate in the classroom. And they just think that kids are supposed to just you know, um, sit there and little things like being off task. Like what is on task, what is the real definition for off task? If I'm tapping my fingers in class, and okay, I'm being a distractor, but say if I finish my homework, that's not really off task. I finished what I was supposed to do. So I'm just saying that I feel like the education system is always trying to pin a diagnosis on a child for extra funding, and the parents are accepting it because they might get a little extra check in the mail. Also, I believe if parents take more time to teach their children, at home, as in showing them just time, like um, when I say time, I'm saying like personal time, reading with your child, talking to your child about how to, if I like scenario building, role playing, when your child does get in like arguments or disagreements with others, teaching your child manners, all that are good things to learn when going to school because a lot of these teachers
I
aren't
will. I'll move towards wrapping up now, but
okay.
I just wanted to know: is there gender differences that are vast, major, I mean, between girls and boys that you're finding with the behavioral issues, or is it about the same? Or
I would say boys, African American boys, have higher behaviors than African American girls. And I would blame that on, again, emotional intelligence. Um, I feel like men are taught that they're not able to cry and show emotions when they are going through things and not being able to communicate properly, versus females, that's that's one of our feminine natures. We're able to do that. So, like for example, when I go to Hastings, when I go to the jail, the boy pod is way larger than the girl pod. Right now I have 7 girls, compared to the boy pod is about 30 boys in the pod. Um, but I would say yes, there are definitely different gender roles that play in with mental illness and behaviors.
okay, Well, thank you so much for coming in to talk with us for this Mental Health Month feature. And once again, this is Miss Aihomon Ebojie.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming to talk with us.
And thank you so much for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Great. Did you get contact information and stuff like that? Oh, that's a good one. Contact information. How would the public contact you if they need to get in touch with you about any of the programs that you've already talked about, the behavior and mental health aspect of it? And also NAACP, how would we get in touch with you?
So you can get in contact with me by email. That is secretary at mplsnaacp.org. Or our Minneapolis NAACP number is 612-806-7801. I am usually the one answering the phone and the emails, and then from our communication team, she is the one that sends out emails for future events. If you want to be added to future events for the Minneapolis NAACP and other events in the city, you can contact communication at MPLS and mplsnaacp.org. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Thank you so much.